What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a new addition to the Bantamweight Top 15, a timetable for Conor McGregor's return, and much more. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. Now let's get into it. Sean O'Malley is now a top 15 bantamweight in the UFC. He's no longer the unranked champion, as Sean O'Malley finally enters the bantamweight top 15 following his big TKO victory over Raulian Paiva at UFC 269 last weekend. It took Sugar only until the end of the first round to put together combinations that ultimately put Paiva away at UFC 269. The win was enough for the UFC to put him 13th in the bantamweight rankings, which were updated on Tuesday. In the lead up to UFC 269, O'Malley was confident in his skill set and even called himself the unranked champion, which was a mindset he used to thrive in the cage. This is what he told UFC.com prior to the bout. "I feel like if everyone was fighting at the same time and you could only pick one person to watch, it would be me. That's where I got the unranked champ mindset. I'm obviously not ranked. It's funny because it makes people so angry. I'm making money and doing my thing." Being ranked 13th in the division means that more eyeballs will be on O'Malley, which he absolutely wants. He seems to thrive under pressure. It's going to be interesting to see who the UFC matches him up against next. In the lead up to last week's event, O'Malley got into a verbal tussle with former champion Cody Garbrandt, so that does look like a potential opponent. But what do you think? Who do you want to see O'Malley fight next? Conor McGregor may come back in early summer, according to his coach John Kavanagh. While Conor McGregor still is nursing a broken leg he suffered in his trilogy fight against Dustin Poirier earlier this year, it looks like Conor could be on track to return to the cage in summer 2022. That's according to his longtime MMA coach John Kavanagh, who says that McGregor has yet to get back to MMA training, but has been doing all he can in the strength and conditioning department to speed up his recovery and not lose a step. Case in point, during an interview this week, the SBG founder and head coach said this.
I would say early summer.
Okay.
I would say early summer. I think he's on target for that. I'll be meeting him. He's back in Dublin now, so I'll see him when I go home to Ireland. And I'm sure we'll have a proper 12 to celebrate Christmas, and then set about a plan for making a comeback.
Kavanagh also stated that McGregor will be back better than ever due to his strong mindset and sheer will. McGregor's will is what propelled him to become the biggest name in the sport, bar none, and he stated that he wants to get back into title contention. Who do you want to see Conor fight when he returns to the cage? Colby Covington says Khamzat's hype train would grind to a halt if they ever met in the cage. Colby Covington is sick of all the talk concerning Khamzat Chimaev, believing that's all hype, just smoke and mirrors. Khamzat has taken the MMA world by storm, running through his first 4 opponents in the UFC, with 4 straight finishes, including 2 wins in 10 days and a 1-punch knockout. He beat his latest victim, Li Jingliang, at UFC 267 in dominating fashion. But Covington, a 2-time welterweight title challenger and one of the top contenders in the division, is not buying any of the hype. Chimaev, for his part, has been very chatty online and in interviews, calling out all kinds of top-tier fighters in the division, and even Brock Lesnar. But in a recent interview with Submission Radio this week, Colby made it clear that he would end Chimaev's hype in violent fashion.
That same hype, they hype him up they can't stop talking about him. Everything's about this kid, this hype, and then boom, it gets halted. So it would get halted in a very violent way, and you don't want to hurt a kid's career before he even gets started. So I mean, you send him up here, he's never going to be the same person again.
Covington also poked fun at how Chimaev was ready to retire after being infected with COVID-19 last year. What do you think of Colby's statements regarding Chimaev? Do you want to see this fight? Do you think the UFC will actually make this fight happen within the next 2 years? And who would you bet money on? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest fight news. Henry Cejudo says Dominick Cruz makes him sick in war of words. Dominick Cruz came away with a nice unanimous decision victory over Pedro Munoz last Saturday at UFC 269. His second straight win after beating Casey Kenny back in March. Before these 2 fights, Cruz fought for the bantamweight title against Henry Cejudo in May of 2020 and came up short, losing by TKO in the second round. Cejudo retired immediately after that fight, saying he had nothing else to prove. Well, it looks like Cruz is trying to coax Cejudo to come back to the cage, because after beating Munoz last Saturday, Cruz said he would be open to fighting Cejudo again, should he want to come out of retirement. During the post-fight press conference for UFC 269 last week, Cruz was asked about referee Keith Peterson, whom Cruz had a massive problem with last year because that's the same referee that called a stoppage between Cejudo and Cruz. Now, Cruz has bounced back with 2 straight wins and says he would be ready to take on all comers, including Cejudo. Well, during the Triple C and Schmo show this week, Cejudo made it clear that he's over and done with Cruz.
Dude, Dominick Cruz, man. Take it in the chin, just how my knee hit your damn chin. Jesus, man, you absolutely make me sick. This is why we need referees. It's not like, oh, let me get beat up and let me see if these referees, give me the benefit of the doubt. Like, no, you put yourself there, you put your face on my knee, and I made you bend the knee. There was 13 unanswered shots. Rewatch it, dude. I literally woke you up.
And in a tweet, Cejudo ripped Cruz, saying this: "At Dominick Cruz, Mr. King of the Prelims, you snooze, you lose. You had your chance, and you bent those surgically repaired knees. If I decide to come back, I'm fighting Alex Volkanovski first. Triple C ain't fighting on no damn prelims." What do you make of Cejudo's response here? With Korean Zombie injured, Dan Hooker asks for Brian Ortega fight. If you thought Dan the Hangman Hooker went down in weight to take on easier opponents, you are mistaken. Hooker is clearly out to prove himself in the lighter weight division. Hooker, a perennial contender at 155 pounds, is moving back down to featherweight, which is how he entered the UFC several years ago. Hooker has wins over Gilbert Burns, Paul Felder, and Al Iaquinta, and is known as a tough, technical fighter who keeps coming forward no matter what. But he's on a bit of a skid, having lost 3 of his last 4, including to former interim champion Dustin Poirier and former title challenger Michael Chandler. His most recent loss was over a month ago against Islam Makhachev. Weeks after the Makhachev fight, Hooker did a test weight cut to 145 pounds, and he successfully made the limit, and now looks to take on contenders in the lighter weight class. But he's not here to take on easy fights. He's already looking at some of the top guys in the division. Case in point, while on the Mac Life's Pub Talk podcast this week, Hooker relayed a conversation he had with Sean Shelby from the UFC following UFC 269.
Said, yeah, 45, I can make 45 quite comfortably if I get, something good.
Yeah.
He goes, who do you want? I says, Korean Zombie. He says, injured. He says, what about Ortega? And he goes, oh, I'll have a look. I'll send you a list. You have a pick, you have a look.
While a fight between Hooker and the Korean Zombie would be an all-out affair, a fight against 2-time featherweight title challenger Brian Ortega would also be an incredible fight. Ortega is coming off a loss against Hooker's teammate, featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, who beat Ortega by a unanimous decision at UFC 266. What do you think of Hooker asking to fight Ortega or Korean Zombie? Would you want to see that fight? And who do you think would walk away with their hand raised? That's all for today's video. Don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel to see more videos just like this. See you next time.